Greetings, welcome to Facts About Everything. I'm your host, James Egan. Today we're going to look at one of Batman's greatest supervillains, the Penguin. The Penguin is a criminal mastermind under the pretense of a legitimate businessman. If this idea sounds familiar, that's because the Penguin is based off real-life criminal Al Capone. If you're a big fan of the Batman comics, you probably already knew that. It's quite common knowledge. In fact, it's been done several times. The Kingpin, Daredevil's nemesis, is also based off Al Capone. So, just to mix it up, he's based off a different person in recent comics. Donald Trump. The DC writers decided to not even be remotely subtle with his reimagining. In a 2017 comic, Penguin announced that he'd be running for mayor in Gotham. In his speeches, Penguin emphasized that he will build a huge, beautiful wall around Gotham. He mocks his competitors by saying, Constance Hill is a woman. I mean, she keeps telling us that. It's like it's all she got for her. Sad. And just in case you couldn't figure out who it's based off, the Penguin's slogan is, Make Gotham Great Again. I know some people are going to dislike this video just because of this, but guys, it's not my fault. I didn't write the flippin' comic. And that is the first fact about the Penguin. Let's dive in. The Penguin debuted in Detective Comics number 58 in 1941. The story was called One of the Most Perfect Frame-Ups. In his debut, Penguin stole a jade statue and framed Batman for the crime. His real name is Oswald Chesterfield Cobblepot. The Penguin's appearance is inspired by the mascot of Cool Cigarettes at the time, a penguin with a top hat and cane. The Penguin has a deformity, so his nose is incredibly long. The character was created by the same people who created Batman, Bill Finger, and Bob Kane. According to DC Comics database, the Penguin stands 5'2", but depending on the artist, Penguin's appearance varies tremendously. Sometimes he's a little short, and other times he's clearly a dwarf. The Penguin's father died of pneumonia. As a result, his mother was overprotective of Oswald and made sure he always carried an umbrella so he couldn't catch a chill from the rain. He was bullied relentlessly due to his umbrella and beak-like nose. His only friends were his mother's pet birds. This made him have a permanent fondness for birds and a hatred for bullies. He had three brothers, Jason, William, and Robert. They used to bully Oswald for his bizarre appearance and his obsession with birds. Oswald got so sick of their antics, he killed all three of them. In case you can't tell, the Penguin is incapable of forgiveness. He has exacted revenge on every person who has wronged him, even if he had to wait years. He has tracked down every person who has ever bullied him and had them murdered. Feeling like he didn't belong with anyone, he eventually became a gangster and worked his way up until he was in charge of the criminal underworld of Gotham. His greatest love is Penny. She is a penguin. He adored her so much, Cobblepot has prepared his grave so he's to be buried beside her. It's common knowledge that the Penguin has a weaponized, bulletproof umbrella. However, even the most die-hard comic fans cannot comprehend how many flippin' umbrellas he has. His umbrellas can shoot fire, explosive, lethal gas, knockout gas, smoke, swords, darts, needles, paint, sneeze powder, heat rays, glass cutters, flares, bullets, heat-seeking rockets, flashlights, a pogo stick, electricity beams, seizure-inducing lights, hypnotic designs, rotary braids that allow him to fly, which he actually used in Batman Returns, a parachute, nets, a camera, a mirror, a radio transmitter, and birds. Somehow. Although a weaponized umbrella sounds like a really silly idea, they actually exist. In fact, they've existed for a century. When George Markov criticized the Bulgarian government in 1978, an assassin killed Markov by stabbing him with the tip of his umbrella, which had been laced with ricin. CIA spies used umbrella guns during the Cold War. In 2013, IGN's top 100 comic book villains of all time ranked Penguin at number 50. He calls Batman's allies the Bat Brats. He owns an underground nightclub called Foul Play. Most of the clubbers dress as superheroes and supervillains. He feeds his enemies to his seals. Wait, that can't be right. They're too cute. There's no way a seal would eat a human. He must mean sea lions. Oh yeah, that's way better. He has a son called Ethan. He wears a vector suit that allows him to project energy and control minds. He is better known as the supervillain Black Sun. Harley Quinn calls him Cobblesnot, which is a tad mean. The Penguin has been played by many fantastic actors. Let's have a look at them. He is played by Burgess Meredith in the 1966 TV series Batman.
I'm going to unleash the most bizarre, senseless barrage of umbrellas onto Gotham City. It'll be senseless to everybody but the Batman.
Legendary actor Spencer Tracy was offered the role of the Penguin, but he said he would only accept the role if he was allowed to kill Batman. He's played by Danny DeVito in Batman Returns. It's also worth mentioning that this is probably the Penguin most people are familiar with. He is has never looked like that in the comics. Despite the fact he is depicted with syndactyly, which means that he has 2 fingers and 1 thumb on each hand, in films and animated series, his hands are normal in the comics. Danny DeVito stayed in character between takes of Batman Returns. He tried to bite anyone who approached him. It took 2 hours to put on Danny DeVito's makeup. Danny DeVito wasn't allowed to tell anyone what the Penguin looked like. He didn't even tell his family. The action figure for the Penguin looked nothing like the film because toy makers thought it looked too scary for children. Penguin too scary? I wonder what gave them that impression. The Penguin was nearly played by Christopher Lloyd, John Goodman, Christopher Lee, Joe Pesci, Alan Rickman, and John Candy. His father was meant to be played by Burgess Meredith. Instead, he was played by Paul Rubens, who also plays Penguin's father in the TV show Gotham. He is played by Robin Lord Taylor in the show Gotham.
It is a sad fact that there is no loyalty among thieves.
He is voiced by Nolan North in the 2011 video game Batman Arkham City.
So, Batman, you here for the cops, the Iceman, or me?
North is considered to be one of the best voiceover actors in the world. Although he has over 350 acting credits, he is best known for playing Nathan Drake in the Uncharted video game series. The Joker's only friend is the Penguin. He cried when he thought the Penguin was dead. He owns his own nightclub called the Iceberg Lounge. The Iceberg's employees all have bird-related names like Jay, Raven, and Lark. However, the Iceberg is merely a front for his criminal activities. The Penguin makes most of his money from arms dealing. You might be thinking, okay, the Penguin's just a gangster. Why doesn't Batman just beat him up and put him in prison? Not that simple. Although the Penguin is a criminal, he gives Batman intel on other potential crimes in the city to convince the superhero not to have him arrested. Although Batman does not like this deal, he agrees to it, believing Penguin knows more about the Gotham criminal underworld than almost anyone else, and his intel can put away people way worse than he is and save lives. The Penguin always wears a top hat. They cost about $800. The Penguin and the Joker teamed up against Batman and Robin in one of the earliest stories. This is the first Batman villain team-up ever. He is nicknamed the Gentleman of Crime. Birds will attack his enemies if the Penguin is in danger. Penguin always wears a monocle. When he's at a funeral, he wears a black shaded monocle. In the early comics, he used an ostrich for transport. I mean, there's just so many ways that's impractical. When he was a teenager, Cobblepot fell in love with a student called Veronica Vreeland. Although he wanted to ask her out on a date, Cobblepot was too nervous. When he saw his friend spending time at Vreeland, Cobblepot killed him. He didn't realize that his friend was trying to convince Vreeland to go out with Cobblepot. His prepared tombstone reads, "So they loved as love in twain had the essence but in one." According to one story, Penguin is 48 years old. This is one of the very few times in DC Comics where a main character's age is given. Penguin had an underling called Ignatius Ogilvy. That's the best name ever. Although Penguin saw him as a loyal henchman, Ogilvy was just biding his time. Eventually, Ogilvy replaced the Penguin as the crime lord of Gotham and became known as Emperor Penguin, because that's the name of the biggest penguin. It's actually very clever. When Penguin realized that Ogilvy was up to something, Ogilvy simply said, "You're familiar with the nesting habits of the cuckoo bird, yes?" Penguin then replied by saying, "Of course, they lay their eggs in other birds' nests," and in that moment, the Penguin realized that he had been replaced as Gotham's crime lord. Ogilvy wears a monocle just like the Penguin. Although he has perfect vision, he does this simply to taunt his former master. Ogilvy absorbed a concoction made of Poison Ivy's DNA, the venom drug that Bane takes, and the Man-Bat serum. This gave Ogilvy super strength and durability. When he gained his super strength, Ogilvy took on the name Emperor Blackgate. I've already done a video about Bane, but do let me know if you want me to do a video about Man-Bat or Poison Ivy. Jason Todd, who's better known as the second Robin after Dick Grayson, learned that his father was a henchman for the Penguin. When his father went to jail for something the Penguin did, Jason snapped and shot Penguin through the face, right through his monocle. But this is comics. That's not going to kill you in a comic. Sometimes you don't even have a headache. So despite being shot at point-blank range right through the face, Penguin somehow survived. His diet is almost identical to an actual penguin. And finally, because of Penguin's appearance, you would safely assume he's not a fighter. He's got loads of henchmen, so he can just hide behind his goons. But the Penguin is not to be underestimated. Despite looking unintimidating, Penguin is excellent at judo and bare-knuckle boxing, and has beaten people to death with his own hands. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Please let me know if there's any other Batman villains you want me to do a video about. Scarecrow, Two-Face, Mr. Freeze, the Court of Owls. Let me know and I'll upload a video as soon as possible. To learn more facts, check out my books. They're available on Amazon on paperback and Kindle. Thanks for watching. See you again.